Freedom Park will this morning commemorate the Battle of Cuito Cuanavale. The day is considered as a day of reflection on the liberation struggle history. The event will include a wreath-laying ceremony. Let's take you live to the proceedings.
Emanating from the end of that war. However, in this very context, I would like to just share with you why Freedom Park is hosting this commemoration today. Freedom Park was conceptualized to honor those who died for freedom and humanity. It came about after President Mandela said that the day should not be far off when we shall have a people's shrine, a freedom park where we shall honor with all the dignity they deserve those who endured pain, so we should experience the joy of freedom. So this is a memorial that presents and celebrates our torturous journey, the sacrifices made for our freedom, and at the same time, it serves as a beacon of hope and inspiration for the future. It is here at Freedom Park where those who died for the struggle of humanity and freedom are honored on our wall of names. And to date, we are proud to say that we have inscribed over 145,000 names for those who died for freedom and humanity across the 8 main conflicts that shaped what we call South Africa today. I should indicate that of these names, Minister, we have over 2,000 names of the Cubans who died in African soils. And that is why our affinity to Cuba will always remain. I also want to indicate that amongst these names again, we have people who died in Angola, we have also the Namibians, we also have people who were in Zimbabwe, and also many other countries, just to name but a few. And that is why it's very significant that while we focus on Cuito Cuanavale as the turning point, we focus broadly on the support and all those who suffered within the region. For us, therefore, this day is more than just a Battle of Cuito Cuanavale, but an opportunity, firstly, to thank those who were with us when it was not fashionable to do so, but also to showcase the unity of SADC, and also for us as SADC to come together in preserving our liberation heritage. But most importantly, it is also about Africans telling the world who they are, where they come from, and where they want to go. We want to chart our future in our own perspective, in our own narratives, not from the outsider perspective. And therefore, I welcome you here today, and I'm very excited, Minister, that we received so much support from SADC, but also our friends Russia, Cuba, and Venezuela as well. And I want to take a moment to especially thank High Commissioner of Malawi, High Commissioner of Botswana, because they really guided me on how we need to move forward to forge this unity within SADC, but eventually within the whole continent. You are all welcome. I thank you.
See you, that was 6.5 minutes. I'm going to be very strict with time. So I don't know whose minute and a half did you chow in the process. Your Excellencies will see and maneuver amongst themselves. Thank you very much, CEO, and the emphasis cannot be made more that this becomes a day on which ourselves as South Africans, we say thank you to those of our friends who remained with us when indeed it was not fashionable to do so, because we know that being friends with the liberation movement meant that you can be bombarded, you will be raided, and you will pay a hefty price. But they stood firm in support of the liberation of this region. Let me call upon to give a message of support in 5 minutes. Her Excellency, the High Commissioner of Botswana, Mema mdise ke amitsi ga se motho o puo telele o tsena ela latswa Ke mo ratela seo. High Com, please, the time is yours. Let's welcome Her Excellency.
Mpo is definitely putting me under pressure. I will comply, sir. Honorable Minister of Sports and Culture, Re Natim, I hope I pronounced the name properly. My colleague, the High Commissioner of Malawi, who is here representing the chair of our movement, of SADC, CEO of the Freedom Park, Majin Fumani, board members of the Freedom Park, colleagues, friends, distinguished guests. I have very little time. I think I'll just go by the protocol that has already been said. The Battle of Cuito Cuanavale marked a turning point in the history of not only Angola, Namibia, and other countries that were under oppressive foreign regimes. It heralded freedom, peace, and security to the whole Southern African region. The cross-border raids that were common occurrences in neighboring countries essentially meant that the whole region was at war and could not focus on any development projects. Countries like my own provided a critical safe passage to military training camps and to refugees. Therefore, on a day such as this, I invite all of us to pause and also think about those freedom fighters who may not have fired a single shot, but made great sacrifices for the liberation of our region. I'm here thinking about men and women who opened their houses and homes, no matter for how short a time, for those who were fleeing in need of shelter. I'm thinking of employers both in the private and the public sector who provided those who sought to earn a living and fend for their families back home, or sometimes even to make contributions to the liberation struggle. I'm thinking of youngsters who befriended fleeing students, ending up providing a critical network for them and even serving as a link to their families back home. I'm also thinking of councils of universities such as the University of Botswana, Lesotho, and Swaziland, who provided quotas for students who were fleeing oppression and sought to continue their studies. Some of them are holding very senior positions in all the liberated countries in our region at the moment. We salute all these brave sons and daughters of the region, as well as those who actively took part in battles such as the one we are celebrating today, Cuito Cuanavale. Their sacrifices should continue to propel us to do good for humanity, and above all, to jealously protect the hard-won freedom that we now enjoy. The same resolve and collaboration of that period should be harnessed to deal with the current challenges, which include unemployment, poverty, post-COVID-19 recovery, and the scourge of gender-based violence. This is my humble prayer for our beautiful sub-region of Southern Africa, Minister. And I thank you all and wish you a memorable anniversary of the Southern African Liberation Day. Thank you.
Ke go lebogile High Commissioner o re go reng Batswana ke ba rata jana ke la ratela gore tlhompha nako fa re dumelane ka gore ke 5 minutes ntse le fonyana ga ire sepe ke go lebogile High Commissioner. And may I therefore, whilst you are still getting to sit down, just ask that you go outside. Members of the media, particularly from the SABC, have requested that our speakers, upon finishing, please just quickly come out so that they can have a quick interview. And that would apply to all your excellencies. Once you finish your message of support, please walk outside so that they can quickly have that talk with you. Excellencies, I hope that will be in order. Just to recap, your message of support for the purposes of our viewers back at home. Ladies and gentlemen, as we proceed with our program, let me call upon Ndate Thabo Motoko from the Kingdom of Lesotho, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Ndate Thabo Ude. Okay, we don't seem to have Ndate Thabo in that order. Therefore, probably on your program you will note that we were supposed to then have a message of support from the Ambassador of Zimbabwe, His Excellency Hamid Zeripi. His Excellency is also not here with us at the moment, so we will then also pass that particular item, which then gives us an opportunity to call upon for another 5 minutes a message of support from the Ambassador of the Russian Federation, His Excellency Rogashev.
Dear Ms. Mufamadi, Honorable Minister, Tоварищ General, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. First of all, I would like to express gratitude to the administration of the Freedom Park for the invitation and for arranging this Remembrance Day on an annual basis. It is a matter of great importance to save the heritage and not to forget such great historic events as the Battle of Cuito Cuanavale. This is the second largest battle that ever took place on the African continent, and perhaps the largest battle after the Second World War, and a remarkable stage in the South African liberation struggle. I would like to emphasize the fact that the Russian people are very much proud of making their contribution to this crucial event in the African history. Soviet military specialists and advisors stood for struggling people of Angola and Namibia, supported Cuban revolutionary armed forces and the armed wing of the African National Congress, not only in the Battle of Cuito Cuanavale, but throughout the Angolan Civil War. The Russian Union of Angola Veterans reports that approximately 12,000 Soviet servicemen participated in that war on rotational basis. Besides that, the USSR supported the People's Armed Forces of Liberation of Angola financially and with military hardware. Nonetheless, the Russian people only supported and helped to fight for peace and justice on the African continent. The main role was played by thousands of Angolans, Namibians, South Africans, who selflessly paid with their lives in that war. I would like to round up with a word of thanks to everyone for finding time to pay tribute to the heroes of that battle. Our common aim is to tell future generations of their deeds by carving their names into our history with the help of the Wall of Names in the Freedom Park. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ambassador. Indeed, we remain grateful and highly indebted for the role that each and every one of you, your nations, your people, have played in our liberation. I now want to call upon for another message of support in 5 minutes. His Excellency, the High Commissioner of Namibia, Ubabu Ngiwele.
Program Director, Ms. Jane Famadi, CEO of the Freedom Park, Honorable Tati Nati Mutetwa, Minister of Sport, Art and Culture, Chairperson of the Council of Freedom Park, Your Excellencies, Ambassadors and High Commissioners, invited guests, generals present, comrades and friends, ladies and gentlemen. Program Director, I wish to register our deepest gratitude and appreciation to the leadership and the management of the Freedom Park for the invitation to attend this national historic occasion of the Battle of Cuito Cuanavale commemoration. Why is this Battle of Cuito Cuanavale important to Namibia, Southern Africa, and the world at large? The decisive Battle of Cuito Cuanavale, which ended on the 23rd of March 1988, had a profound political and military importance. It was militarily significant because for the first time it demolished the myth of the invisibility of the racist South African army. Apartheid South Africa had formidable army, but it suffered a humiliating defeat at the historic Battle of Cuito Cuanavale, inflicted by the gallant Angolan National Army, FAPLA, the Cuban internationalist forces, a contingent of Soviet Union advisors and the military experts deployed with FAPLA, and by implication also took part in this battle, as well as combatants of the People's Liberation Army of Namibia Plan, then SWAPO military wing. I must point out that combatants of Mkondo Wesizwe, MK, and the People's Liberation Army of Namibia shared trenches in our common struggle against the common apartheid enemy. The Battle of Cuito Cuanavale was also politically significant because the defeat of the apartheid South African army created a conducive political environment for the implementation of the United Nations Security Council Resolution 435, which in turn paved the way for the dismantling of apartheid regime in South Africa and advent of democracy. Today, Namibia and South Africa are ever free. We thank all those frontline states and the entire peace-loving people of the world for their sacrifices and relentless support to all the freedom fighters of this great region of Southern Africa. It behooves us to live up to the hopes and legitimate expectation of our people by delivering on the commitments to address poverty, unemployment, and underdevelopment. Director of Ceremony, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, as we remember the historic Battle of Cuito Cuanavale, we also remember and pay homage to the immortal memories of those heroes and heroines who made a supreme sacrifice for our freedom and the independence that we are enjoying today. Their blood waters our freedom. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Ntate Veiso Giwete. I've just been requested to clarify that the interviews will be done at a later stage owing to cameras that are currently taking this event live onto television. My apologies in that regard. But you would have also noted that the High Commissioner of Namibia spoke for like 10 minutes. It's not for my love of the Mukurob. Yes, I loved the Mukurob until the Namibians cut it. But no, it's because we are allocating a little more time for those representatives of countries that were actually in Angola at the time. So do not also point fingers at me that the next speaker is also allocated 10 minutes. I'm not looking for cigars. No, am I looking for Cuban shirts? But it's fine, I can do with some shirts. But cigars, you can give me, I'll give my friends. I want to call upon the Ambassador of Cuba, His Excellency Comrade Enrique Horta Gonzalez, to come and give us a message of support. He's fairly new in the country, so we welcome you, Ambassador. Long live the people of Cuba, long live! Long live the people of Cuba, long live! Long live the spirit of Fidel Castro, long live! Long live the spirit of Che Guevara, long live! Long live Cuba, long live!
Right. In any case, I have the 5 minutes for Lesotho and Zimbabwe, 10 minutes. Honorable Minister of Arts and Culture of South Africa, Chairperson of the Council, Mrs. Jane Mufamadi, CEO of the Freedom Park, comrades representing the ANC, SACP, Focus, Association of Cuban Residents in South Africa, and the Association of the South African Graduates in Cuba, fellows Cubans, compatriotas, esteemed colleagues, ambassadors, and high commissioners, all protocol observed. Dear current friends, let me start by expressing my appreciation to the Department of Arts and Culture for inviting me to make some remarks on this event of historical importance for Southern Africa, the 34th anniversary of the Battle of Cuito Cuanavale, its significance for Cuba, the Southern African region, and the continent as a whole. Our appreciation to the CEO of Freedom Park. There is no other venue more appropriate to commemorate the Battle of Cuito Cuanavale. Freedom Park is the place where all the heroes who gave their lives in the Liberation War are reborn within its walls to keep alive the memory of sacrifice, internationalism, and solidarity. Comrades and friends, we cannot speak of any historical events in which Cuba and Africa are related without firstly understand the essence of the Cuban nationality. The forced arrival in Cuba of African slaves with their customs, life habits, religions, songs, dances, form the basis of the broad process of transculturization as a result of the measures with the African roots. This process was the forge of our nationality and constitutes the legacy that we, the Cubans, always defend. Africa is part of the essence of the Cuban nation, and Cuba feels extremely proud of the African roots. Our gathering today here should serve to recover and claim back the significance of the Cuito Cuanavale, not only for being an historical event, but also for what it truly represents in the history of the Southern Africa, and more important, for the need to make aware the young generations of the sacrifice made in order to achieve freedom in the continent. When I was preparing this speech, I was thinking that I need to find an expression that could gather, at least for me, the real significance of that victory. And I was sure that none other than Nelson Mandela made that expression when he asserted, Cuito Cuanavale was the turning point for the liberation of the continent, of my people, from the scourge of apartheid. The Battle of Cuito Cuanavale lasted 6 months. It was the largest military battle in Africa since the World War II. On March 23, 1988, the South Africans launched the third and last major assault against Cuito. They were defeated and had to withdraw. The invading troops were unable to break the resistance, courage, and determination of the Cubans, Angolan, and SWAPO forces in Cuito Cuanavale. This important victory led to the new and definitive shift in the negotiations to seek peace in Southern Africa. The important peace agreement was born and developed on the battlefield, where Cubans, Angolan, and Namibian fighters mixed their sweat and blood. The defeat of the racist army in Angola changed the regional balance of power. It forced the apartheid regime to negotiate to the negotiate table with the ANC, Angola, and Cuba, and even to make concessions that they had been rejecting for more than 10 years. Our enemies couldn't understand the reason of Cuba's internationalism and solidarity with the African continent. Even today, they cannot understand the audacity of a small country like Cuba, blockaded and threatened, and yet capable of fulfilling internationalist missions wherever and whenever is needed. They simply couldn't conceive such a thing, but the fact that the small Caribbean country had been able to support its African sister nation was something that went beyond their conventions and standards. The fact is that Cuba had not economic interest in Angola or in Africa. Cuba was in Africa because it was fulfilling its duty to help the people of Africa against apartheid, against racism, against colonialism, by virtue of its internationalist principles and feeling of solidarity. The Cuito Cuanavale victory demonstrated that the vision of internationalism based on sisterhood and brotherhood is not a dream. Cuba has shown throughout 64 years of revolution that another and better world is possible based on the real solidarity. Cuba is often described as the foreign country to have gone to Africa and gone away with nothing but scoffing at its own sons and daughters who died in the struggle to liberate Africa. I would like to point out that indeed we took from Africa one of the most valuable riches, the riches that have a great significance for the Cubans, the love and respect of all African and Nigerian people. Dear friends, to conclude, allow me once again on behalf of the people and government of Cuba to thank to the Department of Arts and Cultures and the Freedom Park for the organization of this remembrance event and for inviting us to be part of it. The 2,289 Cuban names on this wall of the Freedom Park are the seeds that watered African soil with sacrifice and blood, alongside with the Namibian, Angolan, and South African liberation heroes, to give birth to freedoms in this broader continent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency, Dr. Enrique Horta Gonzalez is the ambassador of Cuba. And we now go to the next representative of a country that represents this resistance that everybody has been talking about here. When we were at university and we were demanding to rename our residences, there was this suggestion at a mass meeting that one residence must be named Cuito Cuanavale. And you can imagine, as youngsters in the early 90s, a lot of them just laughed. Wow, no, what is Cuito Cuanavale? You sound like you can't pronounce an actual name that you want to pronounce. But yes, Cuito Cuanavale it was to become, and we hope and believe that our youngsters will today know exactly what Cuito represents, because it represents that resilience and resistance which our people have demonstrated to say, despite the heavy arms and bigger armaments and artillery which the apartheid regime boasted at the time, through which they could have swept at or swept away the resistance that was being mounted against the apartheid regime, our people said, La dapa lea kovera. La dapa lea kovera means uhlaluzenza. Hayi namhlanje. We've had it and we're going to stand up and resist. So Cuito to us represent the best of our resistance. Let me call upon the High Commissioner or rather the representative of the ambassador of Angola, Councillor Eduardo Koundwa, to come and give us a message of support in 10 minutes. As he's walking towards his 10 minutes, let's give him a round of applause.
Honorable Minister of Sport, Art and Culture, Tate Natintetwa, the CEO of Freedom Park, Mrs. Jen Mufamadi, Your Excellencies, Ambassadors, Commissioners, and members of Diplomatic Corps, war veterans of FAPLA, Nkonto Wesizwe, Plan of Namibia, dear comrades and invited guests, all protocol observed. On behalf of Her Excellency Ambassador Filomena Delgado and the people of the Republic of Angola, I thank you for inviting us to attend this very important ceremony to celebrate the victory of the Southern African region. The brave, gallant and courageous guerrillas of Angola, of Namibia and South Africa fought and shed their blood to liberate our region and secure a better future for our people. They were there in Cuito Cuanavale because of a big cause, not even for their own cause, because some of them are actually within the names that we are reading on these walls of Freedom Park. They are heroes who today listen to us in silence and contemplate the reality of our countries and judge themselves about what we are doing of their sweat and the shed blood. For their honor, ladies and gentlemen, I kindly request to all of us to stand up for 1 minute of silence. I thank you. Aluta! Aluta! Amandla! Awe tu! I thank you, Honorable Minister, board members of Freedom Park. I would like to assure you that all you are doing here is occurred in our country, Angola, and we thank you for organizing such event. The Embassy of the Republic of Angola is working together with the Freedom Park to bring Agostinho Neto's bust to be placed in this historic site as we celebrate his centenary, and to symbolize our political and cultural relationship with South Africa. I recall Agostinho Neto, the first president of Angola, soon after proclaiming the independence of Angola, announced, and I quote, "In Zimbabwe, in Namibia, and South Africa is the continuation of our struggle," unquote. That decision was made in solidarity of our fellow comrades that were under colonialism and apartheid segregation. And that decision was fundamental to bring to their knees the Boer's army that was thought to be unbeatable, forcing the then apartheid regime installed in South Africa to unconditionally release Nelson Mandela and the end of the then white minority and apartheid government in South Africa. We believe that the freedom achieved in the region through Cuito Cuanavale battle must also recognize the war veterans who fought for it, the FAPLA in Angola, the Umkhonto we Sizwe in South Africa, and the Plan in Namibia, as well as our compañeros cubanos and the then Soviet Union, now Russia, advisors, for those who are still alive to benefit from their sweat, in extinction, their families through consistent policies. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, to say that we are today celebrating the 34th anniversary of Cuito Cuanavale battle, and we are still not really having an accurate written history. An history written by genuine participants of the war to clarify and bring the true factual knowledge in books that can be taught to our children, the young generation. But not the books written by other people who actually change the narrative of reality and impress their masters. We want books to tell the future generations how Boers were defeated in Cuito Cuanavale and why, and the consequences that the Pieter Williams Botha regime suffered internally after the heavy defeat and after losing soldiers and abandoning military equipment. The Embassy of Angola will continue working in partnership with the Department of Art, Sport, Art and Culture and the Freedom Park to make this celebration not only for reflection, but also to strengthen our ties, social and cultural, as well as to promote our social development. I thank you.
Just a bit of context as to why the Angolan ambassador is saying they want to bring the bust of a former Angolan president to Agostinho Neto to the Freedom Park in Pretoria. He led this battle, and just in terms of context, the Cuito Cuanavale was fought intermittently between August 1987 and the 23rd of March 1988, thus this day, the 23rd, being a commemoration southeast of the town of Cuito Cuanavale by the People's Armed Forces for the Liberation of Angola, FAPLA, and advisors and soldiers from Cuba, the USSR, which is what Russia used to be called, Vietnam, ANC, and SWAPO against South Africa, and the soldiers of the National Union of the Total Independence of Angola during the Angolan Civil War at the South African border and the South African border war. So pretty much that's what's being commemorated today.